The Watchtower Ritual. My name is Jake, and I'm 32 years old. 6 months ago, my life fell apart in ways I never thought possible. My construction company went bankrupt after a series of bad contracts. My girlfriend Sarah broke up with me, and I lost my apartment in Denver. I was desperate for work, any asterisk work. When I saw the posting for a fire lookout position in the remote forests of northern Montana, the pay was decent. The isolation actually sounded appealing, and honestly, I needed to get away from everything that reminded me of my failures. The National Forest Service was surprisingly quick to hire me. Maybe they were as desperate as I was. Fire season was approaching, and apparently not many people wanted to spend months alone in a tower 70 feet above the ground, miles from the nearest road, perfect for someone trying to disappear from his problems. The first 3 weeks were exactly what I expected. Peaceful asterisk. I'd wake up at dawn, scan the horizon with my binoculars, radio in my reports, and spend the rest of the day reading books I'd brought or working on crossword puzzles. The tower itself was pretty basic. A small cabin perched on steel legs with windows on all sides, a radio, some basic furniture, and a narrow staircase leading up from the forest floor. At night, I'd watch the stars like I'd never seen them before, unpolluted by city lights. But then things started getting weird. It began with sounds, not the usual forest sounds. I'd gotten used to those. These were different. Wrong asterisk. Sometimes, late at night, I'd hear what sounded like voices echoing through the trees. Distant, but definitely human. At first, I thought maybe it was other hikers or campers, but who would be hiking in complete darkness? And the voices, they had this strange, almost chanting quality to them. One night around 2 a.m., I heard footsteps on the metal stairs leading up to my tower. Clang, 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 slow, deliberate steps. I grabbed my flashlight and shined it down, but there was nothing there. The steps stopped immediately. I waited for 20 minutes, heart pounding, but heard nothing else. I convinced myself it was just the metal expanding and contracting with the temperature change. But then I started seeing things. Shadows moving between the trees when there was no wind. Sometimes I'd catch movement in my peripheral vision and whip around, only to see empty forest. During the day, I'd spot what looked like figures standing perfectly still between distant trees, but when I'd focus my binoculars on them, they'd be gone. Or maybe they were never there at all. The worst asterisk part was this feeling I started getting like I was being watched. Constantly. You know that prickly sensation on the back of your neck? It never went away. I'd be doing routine maintenance on the equipment or cooking dinner, and I'd get this overwhelming urge to look over my shoulder. Something was out there, and it was asterisk watching asterisk me. Sarah called me last Tuesday evening. It was good to hear her voice, even though things between us were still complicated. "How are you holding up out there, Jake?" she asked. I could hear traffic in the background, the familiar sounds of the city I'd left behind. "It's peaceful," I lied, not wanting to worry her. "Really helping me clear my head, you know." "Are you eating enough? You always forget to eat when you're stressed." Despite everything that had happened between us, she still cared. That meant something. "I'm fine, Sarah. Really. The isolation is actually good for me right now." We talked for about 30 minutes about normal stuff, her new job, mutual friends, the weather. For a brief moment, everything felt normal again. Like maybe I could actually make this work, get my life back on track, maybe even convince her to give us another shot when I got back to civilization. But that illusion shattered 3 nights later. I was doing my evening scan when I noticed something wrong with the forest. There was this presence asterisk. The air felt heavy, oppressive, like right before a thunderstorm, but without any clouds. The usual sounds, insects, small animals rustling through the underbrush, had completely stopped. The silence was deafening asterisk. That's when I saw it. About 100 yards from the base of my tower, something was moving through the trees, but it wasn't moving like an animal or a person. It was gliding almost floating between the trunks. I grabbed my binoculars and focused on the area, my hands shaking so badly I could barely hold them steady. What I saw will haunt me for the rest of my life. It was tall, maybe 8 feet, and completely black, like it absorbed light instead of reflecting it. It had a vaguely human shape, but all wrong. Too thin, joints bending in ways they shouldn't. And its face, its face was just a smooth, dark surface where features should have been. No eyes, no mouth, nothing. But I could feel it looking at me. We stared at each other for what felt like hours but was probably only seconds. Then it simply melted back into the shadows between the trees and was gone. I spent the rest of the night with every light in the tower on, my radio clutched in one hand and my emergency flare gun in the other. I didn't sleep. The next evening, I saw the asterisk lights. I was scanning the forest around sunset when I noticed a faint orange glow coming from a clearing about half a mile northwest of my position. At first, I thought it might be a campfire, but as it got darker, the glow became brighter and more ritualistic. I focused my binoculars on the area and felt my blood run cold. There were about 12 figures arranged in a perfect circle around a large bonfire. They were all wearing long, dark robes with hoods that completely obscured their faces. The robes looked old, like they were made from rough cloth or maybe even animal skins. Some of the figures were holding torches, others had their arms raised toward the sky. But what made it truly terrifying was their movement or lack of it. They stood completely motionless for long periods, then would all move in perfect unison, like they were connected by invisible strings. Sometimes they'd all raise their arms at exactly the same moment. Other times they'd bow their heads in perfect synchronization. And the chanting, even from half a mile away, I could hear their voices carried on the wind. It wasn't in any language I recognized, but it made my skin crawl. The words seemed to twist and writhe in the air, almost like they had a life of their own. I knew I had to get evidence. The police would never believe me without proof, and neither would the Forest Service. I grabbed my digital camera, an old one I'd brought to take nature photos, and carefully opened the tower door. The metal walkway around the tower was maybe 3 feet wide with a railing on the outside. I'd have to make my way around to the northwest side to get a clear shot of the clearing. Every step I took seemed to echo through the forest like a *** gunshot asterisk, even though I was trying to be as quiet as possible. When I reached the right position, I raised the camera and zoomed in as far as it would go. Through the viewfinder, I could see the robed figures even more clearly. Some of them were carrying what looked like wooden staffs or ceremonial daggers. In the center of their circle, there was something on the ground. I couldn't make out what it was, but it was roughly the size and shape of a person. I took 3 quick photos, the camera's flash automatically firing despite my attempts to turn it off. Mistake. The chanting stopped immediately. All asterisk of the figures turned toward my tower in perfect unison, their hidden faces pointing directly at me. Even from half a mile away, I could feel their attention like a physical weight pressing down on my chest. Then they started moving. They didn't run or walk. They glided through the forest like the thing I'd seen the night before. And they were moving asterisk fast. Much faster than any human should be able to move through dense woodland in the dark. I scrambled back into the tower and slammed the door, my mind racing. They'd be here in minutes, maybe less. I needed to hide, but where? The tower was just one small room with nowhere to go. That's when I remembered the ceiling. During my first week, I'd noticed that some of the wooden planks in the ceiling weren't nailed down properly. They were just sitting in place. The Forest Service had mentioned that the tower needed some maintenance work that hadn't been completed. There was a small crawl space above the ceiling, probably used for electrical work or storage. I grabbed a chair and climbed up, carefully moving 3 of the loose planks and squeezing myself into the cramped space above. I was just able to fit if I lay completely flat. I pulled the planks back into place just as I heard the first footsteps on the metal stairs. Clang, 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 but now there were multiple sets of feet. many asterisk of them. Through the thin wooden planks, I could hear them enter the tower. They moved around the small space, and I could tell they were searching for me. What was terrifying was how silent they were, no talking, no communication at all. Just the soft rustle of fabric and the creak of floorboards under their feet. They searched for what felt like hours but was probably only 10 or 15 minutes. I held my breath until my lungs burned, terrified that even the slightest sound would give me away. Finally, I heard them leave, their footsteps retreating down the metal stairs. But I wasn't stupid enough to come down immediately. I waited another hour, listening for any sign that they might still be nearby. When I finally worked up the courage to move the planks and drop back down into the tower, I looked out the windows and saw nothing. The forest appeared empty, normal. Even the clearing where I'd seen the ritual was dark, but I knew they were still out there, waiting. I had to get out of there. Now. My pickup truck was parked about a quarter-mile away at the end of the Forest Service road. I grabbed my essential supplies, water, my radio, the camera, and prepared to make a run for it. But first, I needed to make sure the coast was clear. I carefully opened the door and scanned the area with my flashlight. Everything looked normal, but that feeling of being watched was stronger than ever. I made my way down the stairs as quietly as possible, every step seeming to echo through the silent forest. The walk to my truck was the longest quarter-mile of my life. Every shadow looked like a robed figure. Every rustle in the undergrowth made me jump. But I made it to the truck without incident and quickly unlocked it. That's when I saw them. They were emerging from the tree line on all sides, surrounding the small clearing where I'd parked. DOZNS of them, all wearing those same dark robes. They moved with that same unnatural gliding motion, and even in the darkness, I could see their hidden faces all turned toward me. I dove into the truck and fumbled with the keys, my hands shaking so badly I could barely get them in the ignition. The engine turned over just as the first of them reached my truck. In the headlights, I caught a glimpse of what was under one of the hoods. It wasn't human. The face was wrong, too long, with skin that looked like old leather. Where the eyes should have been, there were just dark, empty sockets. And the mouth. It was full of teeth. Too many teeth. I floored the accelerator and tore out of there, the truck's tires spinning in the dirt. In the rearview mirror, I could see them watching me go, standing perfectly still in the road like dark statues. I drove straight to the nearest town, a small place called Cedar Ridge, about 50 miles away. It was 3 a.m. when I stumbled into the sheriff's office, probably looking like a crazy person. I told them everything, the ritual, the robed figures, the thing I'd seen in the forest. To their credit, they listened. Sheriff Matthews even organized a search party and went out to investigate the next morning. But when they got to the clearing where I'd seen the ritual, there was nothing. No signs of a fire, no footprints, no evidence that anyone had been there at all. Worse, when we went back to the tower to retrieve my camera and the rest of my belongings, the camera was gone. Not just the camera, all the photos I'd taken, any proof that what I'd experienced was real. They searched for 3 days but found nothing. No cult, no ritual site, no mysterious robed figures. Sheriff Matthews was polite about it, but I could see in his eyes that he thought I'd had some kind of breakdown. Maybe he was right. Maybe the isolation had gotten to me more than I wanted to admit. But I know what I saw. And I know those things are still out there in those woods. I handed in my resignation to the Forest Service the next day. Told them I had a family emergency and needed to leave immediately. They were understanding, apparently. Isolated duty can be tough on people, and I wouldn't be the first fire lookout to quit unexpectedly. That was 2 weeks ago. I'm writing this from a motel room in California, where I'm starting over for the second time in less than a year. I found a job with a construction crew in San Diego, back to what I know, back to civilization. The pay isn't great, but I'll be working with other people, surrounded by the noise and bustle of city life. Sarah thinks I'm running away from my problems again, and maybe she's right. But sometimes running away is the only sane response to something that shouldn't exist. I still wake up sometimes in the middle of the night, feeling like I'm being watched. I'll look out the motel window and scan the parking lot, half expecting to see dark figures standing under the streetlights. So far, there's been nothing. Maybe they can't follow me this far from their forest. Maybe they don't need to. But I've learned something important. There are places in this world where humans aren't supposed to go. Places where old things still live. Things that were here long before we built our cities and roads and convinced ourselves we understood the world. The forests of northern Montana are one of those places, and I'm never going back.